أنيلنا حفتنا سمرت حجيخات هنا مجرشة virtual online group يوم discuss غوب تانيهم حاونا دكتور سايمون خاربالناي.
All right, thank you everyone. Our group is the biggest group. We're 33 on the Zoom group, so it's going to be very difficult to include everybody's idea. But I wanted to assure them, those who are on Zoom, that we have taken good notes and we'll submit it to them. So there are 5 points that I'm going to mention. And I know there was someone on Zoom who had a question for Dr. Berlin. He's going to answer it after me. All right, the 5 points that we discussed are the ones that me and Haptom summarized those points. Number 1 was social and cultural reform. So almost everything has already been done. Number 2 was economic hardship. Number 3 was leadership. Number 4, institutionalization. Number 5, diplomacy. So I'll just mention a few things. When it comes to social and cultural reform, something that repeatedly came up was we have a very fragmented society and that we needed to work on it. It's disoriented society. And then another thing that came up repeatedly was we have a traumatized society that has lots of mistrust. Someone mentioned to a good point that this is a single language. Even here, we have promised especially our audience on Zoom, we have some who do not understand Tigrinya, and obviously, please, as much as possible, let's try to speak in English. And then there was a land ownership issue. It has already been mentioned. Refugees needed to be returned. Someone has issues with the constitution that we have or that we don't have, and Dr. Berkhat will address it in a minute. So when it comes to, I'm going to skip the next one, economic hardship. Lots of people mentioned there is poverty back home and that we needed to deal with it as a priority. They said there's a lot of investment outside of the country, some in Africa, so all those need to be invested back home. Banking issues, and then I'm going to skip again. So many people also mentioned leadership, and they said, not just leadership as being wanting it to be a leader, but we needed to start developing leadership now, and it has to start from the village all the way up back home. But even here, as some have mentioned, we have to give the opportunity and the platform for those who have with leadership skills to show their skills and lead. So leadership was mentioned many times. And some have said, especially the political parties should allow for leadership to foster. Many people mentioned that we lack institutionalization, so we needed to build institutions in every sector, economic, financial, education, in every sector possible. And we have to have a democratic culture. And the last one, again, for the sake of time, was about diplomacy. We needed to have a mature and subtle diplomacy, and we needed to undo the damage done with our neighbors. And someone said that we needed to start partnership, especially with the Westerners, when it comes to transition. And there was a feeling that there are no organizations. There are a lot of ideas, but there are no organizations working on transition. Most, including RAPS, we were told that we're focusing more after transition and that they wanted us to focus on the transition period. As a summary for all this, I think the solutions that we mentioned are, number 1, we needed to build a social democratic government, and that has to start now. And with a very small army that only is ready to defend. I'm sure I've left a lot of things. I apologize to those, but as I said, we've taken a note. Now, if possible, please give Dr. Berkhat a few minutes to respond to the question that we had on Zoom. Thank you.
Agor 100% استطعت ባህርያዊ ዘይቲ ሻምፖ ኮንዲሽነር ቀሪቡሉ አጎር ኣብ ጨጉርና መስተርዖት ክፈጥር እዩ አጎር ኩሉ ነዎ አጎር ፈትንዎ አጎር ብግቦን ብስርዑን ተጠቂምና ክንሕጎስና ፍርያት አጎር ክትጠቀሙ ምስትደልዩ በዚ ቴሌፎን ክትወከሱ ትኽእሉ ወይ ድማ ኣብ ዌብሳይትና ኣቲኹም ኣድራሻና ወሲድኩም ክትእዝዙና ትኽእሉ ኢኹም
I thank the organizers, especially Dr. Simon, for giving me this opportunity. The question that I was asked concerns the Constitution. It was asked by Brother Madani, I think.
Yasin
Madani. I wish I could speak to you in Arabic, but I will speak in English. I will not take much time. First of all, we all have differences. The vast majority of Eritrean people believe they have a constitution that has been suppressed. My answer to you is in this book. Can you see this book, people?
Please move it a bit higher.
Move it higher, a bit up. Yeah. Exactly.
Will you read it, someone?
Focus on the Eritrean constitution.
Yes. And there is a subtitle, A Companion to Eritreans Engaged in the Struggle for Change. That's my gift. And it has now been donated to one Eritrean organization. I gave them the copyright, and so they will be selling it. Yasin, you will find my answer in this book completely. I say again, the vast majority of people, Eritreans, believe there's a constitution that has been suppressed. Some people argue points of law within the constitution, but that's okay. That can be reviewed and, if necessary, amended. The point is, I'm not talking only about the legal aspect of the constitution, but of the fundamental political aspect. It's the most important symbol of our sovereign nation. We have to use it. And we have to ask those people who are in power now, particularly those who are in the military, they should actually consider themselves as guardians of the constitution and see to it that is implemented and use it as a unifying symbol. Thank you. I will add another word, something said by my friend, Dr. The medical doctor who challenged me earlier. I'm trying to remember his name. I'm sorry. He actually calls me Aya. So I'm ashamed to say that his name has slipped my. Dr. Berhane Olde Mikael. He made this famous slogan. We want the government to say, "Haras harastai neged nagadai." That is the slogan used by our people when the British took over from Italians. And that should be the slogan to be used by our future government when the deaf government is out. Haras harastai neged nagadai. And I will give you the security, the law behind you. That's what we'll need. Thank you. And again, I thank you for this opportunity. This has been a wonderful opportunity. I am so proud of the young Eritrean professionals who have organized this. There's a lot of hope expressed in today's meeting. And I am leaving this meeting hopeful. There was the point when I was going to say something stupid. I was going to say, which would have made me a laughing stock of Eritrea. Right. There's a story of a young Eritrean field fighter who left the field, and when asked why, he said, and he has become the laughing stock of the nation. I don't want to be like that. Thank you again.
Thank you. One last summary that came from the live stream. People who are following on live stream also put some points there. So we want to include their participation. So I'm just going to read those to you. Basically, as challenges, they listed number 1, safety and security. Number 2, lack of the justice system, which is based on Bill of Rights. Number 3, lack of proper education, skills, and training. Number 4, They said forming a government with functioning departments or lack thereof, I suppose, and holding proper elections or lack of elections is what they identify as challenge. So we just want to make sure that theirs is also included. And as we promised, all this will be collected and summarized, and they will come as our resolution. Thank you for your participation. We'll move on to the next, which Tamasgan will announce. Thank you.
يغنيلنا دكتور هبتاب إزي زتغبر زتي أما تشرشات تصوميقهم نا أربعة زتي زلونا تصوميقو دحرق قربنا حجي قلت إفنا نبتنا زلا تمتزلا بروغرام كن كيدينا إزي متزلا بروغرام بتعم أغداسي بروغرام كوينو أب كم نفولتو هم نذكرو أب كل تشح أب إرترا G13 زبهارو جروب اتي اب إرترا زلو كبيت صغم نتهزبن نتهاغرن زلو ترديوم زتوسنو مهورات برلين مانيفستو زبهال ابيرو صحيفهم نتي زلو سرعات هيبمو كم تفلطوا يخم اتي سرعات نتي زتواهبو نتيغو بزح مصنعتن مرمرن زحازله خوينو نسوغن نصيغو نعاتهم كا تقبالنت ابت حزبي كم ديرو خبو غيرو كم تخال حزبنا رخيبو زلو اب كبيت صغمن شغرن اوريدوم نيرو سلازي نزي افلطو نمهاب كلتا حواتنا دكتور دسالنين دكتور تخلون نزي نغرزي السناديوم مصيمان لومو نابتز مصف زلو بروجرام ناباتهم كن كيدينا دكتور دسالة دكتور تخلو.
Thank you, Tamasgan. I think it's good afternoon. According to my computer, it says good morning, but we're in the Eastern time, so okay. Good afternoon. It gives me a great pleasure to facilitate this recognition ceremony that has been designed to commemorate the exemplary intellectual who contributed to the Berlin Manifesto, known as G13. I'm honored to be part of this award-giving ceremony, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. I want to congratulate the members of G13 and all those who taken part in this event. The thoughtful initiative of G13 are the actual representation, everything that we stand here at Areapis. Without further ado, Dr. Toklu will give us an appreciation. Okay. Without further ado, Dr. Toklu will give us an appreciation speech on behalf of the committee. In addition to that, he has also some message to the all Eritreans and also to the, especially to the Eritrean professionals and intellectuals. Dr. Toklu, it's your.
Thank you. My name is Toklu Kidane Tesfa. I came from Washington State to be part of this workshop. And it is wonderful to see Eritrean intellectuals and professionals getting together to discuss pressing issues with freedom, without intimidation, to help their people. It's an honor for me to be part of this workshop, and more importantly, to give an introductory speech today on behalf of the Areapis Award team to open the recognition ceremony of our highly esteemed heroes who contributed to the Berlin Manifesto of 2000. They are known as the G13. For those who do not know what the Berlin Manifesto is, it's a letter written by a group of Eritrean intellectuals and professionals to the president of Eritrea in 2000 to voice their concerns about the predicament the nation was facing
right after the border war between Eritrea and Ethiopia ended. I read the letter just recently as I was preparing for this event, and I realized that they raised every issue the country was facing. And they warned the president about the consequences that can follow if the issues were not handled appropriately. They raised timely political, social, and economic issues, as well as the crisis in the leadership at the time. They called for reconciliation and national unity, for restoration of collective leadership and popular participation, and the implementation of the constitution. They expressed their concerns about the role of PFDJ in politics and economics of the country. More importantly, in addition to writing the manifesto, they also met with the president face to face. And they presented all the concerns they have bravely. They told the president that a new nation facing enormous political, security, economic, and social challenges could not afford to have a government that solely depends on one person. Unfortunately, such genuine and thoughtful initiatives do not work unless the other side is sincere and willing to listen. However, had they not fallen on deaf ear, their bold initiatives could have become game changer by saving Eritrea and its people 21 years of darkness that have followed. For those of us who know the behavior of the government of Eritrea, it's not difficult to imagine the price paid by the G13 members. Just for voicing their concerns. However, no one can fully understand the price they paid except themselves. With the award we are giving them today, our intention is only to say thank you and show them a symbol of our appreciation for their dedication and significant contributions. But we also hope that this recognition award will serve future generations of Eritreans as an ongoing reminder to follow their footsteps. We owe the very existence of people like them have answered the call of their time. They had the courage to step forward and the good of others, to put the good of others ahead of their own interest, and did what they could do to brighten the future of their nation. All through our nation's known history, virtually every one of our generation has either faced wars, famine, occupation, dictatorship, exile, or other inconceivable challenges. For some, these events led to picking up arms to fight for freedom, standing up for justice, and taking other heroic measures. To preserve these precious pieces of our past and save them from fading away, we as Erips have taken it upon ourselves to honor, document, educate, and pass those achievements down through future generations. We cannot think of more distinguished scholars, and an outstanding group of professionals with whom to start our recognition endeavor than with the G13. Therefore, we're honored to have some of you today join us in person, as well as some of you virtually in this first ERIPS workshop. Today, on behalf of the ERIPS award team, I would like to acknowledge that we owe so much to you, your contributions and selfless sacrifices. Your contribution was and still is immensely significant, and future generations will remember you as heroes. Thank you. As we recognize our heroes of the G13 today, we would like to convey our message to all Eritrean intellectuals and professionals in the diaspora to rise up. As you know, the regime in Eritrea has degraded the value of education and professionalism by intentionally and systematically undermining the roles of intellectuals and professionals in our society, and by promoting negative sentiments towards intellectuals and professionals. As a response to this, ERIPS is striving to bring socio-economic and political change in the country by encouraging members of the Eritrean diaspora to value education and to work towards building strong democratic institutions. On this occasion, we call on all Eritrean intellectuals and professionals in the diaspora to take their right place in this noble endeavor and to overcome the anti-education system set by the government. The struggle to bring justice in Eritrea cannot achieve its goals without the participation of the professionals and intellectuals. So we call on you to rise and take your rightful place. Every contribution matters, and it is a building block to bring the right change for our nation. Indeed, the Eritrean people need you. So come join us. Also, on this occasion, we would like to convey a message of hope and encouragement to the people of Eritrea. As Edward Everett said, education is a better safeguard than a standing army. Thus, valuing education and educated citizens and promoting quality education must be a major part of the struggle for justice. We should cultivate the culture of celebrating excellence, and many excellent citizens will come from us. Every generation comes with its own potential of leaders, doctors, teachers, technicians, etc. And a good governance would be one that would create an environment that would allow each generation to reach their potential. Finally, on behalf of the award team of ERIPS, I call on all Eritreans to value education and to promote learning as a culture in our society, to recognize accomplished citizens and encourage intellectuals to contribute to the success of the society. Again, to all our heroes of the G13, thank you for all your dedication, service. Let us honor our heroes together. Thank you all.
This COVID is killing us. The document is posted on our website. When you go to erips.org, I should be able to find it. There's a folder, it says historic document. So the letter is posted there. So I just encourage you to go there. In margin, they raised 8 different points, valid points. In margin, if it has implemented 3 of those or 2 of those, our country could have been on the other side of the history, but we're not fortunate. So it's good to have a first-hand information. We are very lucky. 3 of them are here. So I will invite them to give a speech on behalf of G13. Professor Araya, Dr. Khalid Bashir, Mr. Paulus. So I invite you and your
Ya Anelay, shukran. Thank you very much for inviting us to this wonderful meeting of Eritrean professionals, young and not so young, but an organization and an institution that can make a huge difference now and the future. Before talking about the G13, I'd like to kind of reflect on the period, the 10-year period from 91, of independence. So the period for me living there was very fascinating, ambiguous, something that can go right, something that can go wrong. Whether we're going to have democratization process that will move us forward or a dictatorship that will assert itself unambiguously. The initial 10 years of independence again possessed within them indications of the realization and aspiration that we fought for. People's active participation, like during the armed struggle for democracy, for building political parties, plural, open, capable, and accountable institutions that promote and respect our rights. And along that lines, people voted in the referendum, participated in the making of their constitution, and were witnesses towards the preparation of implementing the constitution. Electoral laws, political party laws, as well as macroeconomic policy, investment laws, investment center, all those things that we fought for and were hoping will be realized. At the same time, we saw the enactment of the special court right in the middle of making our constitution, completely undermining the rule of law, the spirit of constitutionalism, and we said, what's going on? And of course, the killing of the handicapped
for a simple reason that they wanted to protest the way they were, or their lives was managed. After that, we start to see the narrowing of space of any voice that was critical and independent. It was during this political period of uncertainty and contestation that the 98-2000 war erupted, reversing any hope of positive development. War, of course, is destructive. It destroys not only lives and livelihoods, but also progress towards a vision in the spirit of human development and respect. That was what happened in Eritrea. The president thought that the war could easily be won, or it was winnable. He thought that was going to be his war, his victory, and therefore he put aside all those who had huge experience in combat, in managing battles, and who helped win the war of independence. A one-man rule was asserted. Unfortunately, the members of the leadership were patient at that time, but the moment the war ended, they said, we need to meet, and there was a meeting. And in the meeting, they said, what happened? How did we go to war? How did we manage the war? And how did we go through the process of making? They even went further, and they said, we need to look into how the government manages the country for the last 10 years. Economy, politics, social, diplomacy in terms of relationship with our neighbors and beyond. These were very important questions. It was under such a political and security circumstances that I traveled to the US and found out that Eritreans in North America were having their annual meeting. And of course I went. I was here before. I knew I could find my friends, and I also knew and communicate with some to meet there. And of course, when we meet, what do we say? How is Adna? What's new? And my response was, we have a bigger problem than the war. The leadership is fighting. And this will take us somewhere we never expected. And I said, this guy, meaning Isaias, might put people in jail. And we might face a crisis that is irreversible. So we said, as Eritreans, what can we do? What should we do? That's how the G13, then it was 4 or 5 of us, and we said, let's bring some more people and discuss this. That's how the G13 came together. We discussed it, we agreed to write a letter to the president, and the letter, as my brother said, raised all the most important points of the time. Interestingly, they are still pertinent. We talked about the war that devastated Eritrea, that almost took away the hard-won independence. We spoke about the humanitarian crisis that the war created, the refugees, the more than 75,000 Eritreans that were expelled from Ethiopia, the refugees in Sudan, the new refugees, and the destruction that happened during the war, including at that time, rape. And we said, we cannot keep quiet under this very critical situation, because the situation has actually raised critical issues. We have to speak, and we have to speak up clearly and loudly. We spoke about reconciliation at that time and national unity, as my brother said. And we said, we need the spirit of reconciliation, but we need wisdom. It has to be based on wisdom. It has to be based on statesmanship, but we need reconciliation so that we can rebuild shattered society and shattered economy. We spoke about collective leadership. We said during the war, and many of us, like me, we were members of EPLF, we said during the war, we trusted leadership. We're not talking about a leader. Now, what's going to happen? Why is the one man coming and the leadership is actually quarreling? And of course, we also said, what is the role of the FDJ? Because we could see parallel institutions coming. They have economy, government has economy. They have security, whatever that the government should do. And we said, it's not good. This will take us where we didn't expect to go and we didn't fight for. And we also spoke about the implementation of the Constitution. We said this was a culmination of the struggle of our people. It was drafted with active participation of our people. It was ratified by representatives of the people. Nobody, including the president, has the right to set it aside. It has to be implemented. So, agreement to meet was reached. We contacted people, funding was date fixed, everything like that. And the place was actually not Berlin. It was Potsdam. Potsdam, if you know historians, Potsdam is not very far from Berlin, but it's a place where the big three, the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union met to discuss about peace and how to manage Germany post-war. So it has significance, historical significance. There was, which I should mention, another person besides the 13 who actually helped us with logistics, with a lot of things, but she was also participating actively. Her name is Asgadet Garmazio. She could not sign because she was actually representing the organization that fund us. So I want her to be also remembered as what I call the silent signature of this Berlin Manifesto. As we know, the letter was supposed to have been handed to the president through his ambassador in Washington, but it was leaked. At that time, I was back in Asmara. And frankly speaking, I was scared. I didn't expect the letter to be somewhere where we didn't expect it. But then I said, okay. And interestingly, the president responded. He said, we have to meet. We met the president. Of course, nothing happened. But what was important during this meeting with the president was we affirmed our position and we gave him in writing. We said, what we wrote, that letter, we affirm our position, that we stood by the contents of the letter we sent you, that we were saddened by the leaking of the letter and we wanted to know who actually leaked it. Isaias never faced such a challenge, direct challenge. He never really met with any person, group that criticized him. And after that, I don't think he faced it. He can make it disappear. He can ignore you. but never really faced that kind of. The Berlin writers or authors did not continue their engagement as a collective, but here in this place, here and now, I see the spirit of the Berlin letter and more. The Berlin letter clearly states that we, the undersigned, are Eritrean academics and professionals concerned with the predicament of our country. This group is exactly like that. Here, I see Eritrean academics and professionals concerned with the plight of their people and country. I see here more than the spirit, an organized body of Eritrean professionals, academics, mostly young or younger than us, and energetic, working for the betterment of our country. I see the spirit gaining momentum, marching, and ready to realize the aspirations that we all fought. Thank you very much.
Well, I don't want to repeat what Paulo said, but I just want to tell you this, for doing what we thought was our national obligation as Muhuran Eritreauyan. What we said in that letter was what everybody was complaining about. We were becoming the voice of the voiceless. And so for doing that, we were called traitors. The letter was leaked. It was it was not a manifesto, by the way. They called it Berlin Manifesto, and I know who called that. I know we knew who leaked it, but that was intentionally meant to undermine Eritrean professionals and academics. And so, coming from that, where we were dehumanized, where everything was made, to treat us as if we are useless, then to get to this point where the leadership of ERIPIS is recognizing and honoring us, it is deeply touching. And so I really want to thank you for taking this, restoring not only the names of the G13, but encouraging other Eritreans also to speak out and to stand to power. But I would like, without taking too much time, to recognize two particular individuals who made a difference on the G13. First of all, the whole G13 assembled initiative was taken by Paulus. Paulus, the one who contacted us, and then we formed the G13. But when we went to meet with the president, I have to tell you, my hero was Dr. Khalid. Let me tell you why. When we met with Isaias, of course, he approached us. Of course, he made us suffer for the whole week, waiting for him. We were not even sure. In fact, at the last minute, we prepared a press release saying, we came all the way to meet you because he invited us. And then we are saddened that we have to go back without getting the opportunity to meet with him. Then finally, in the last hour, when we're supposed to depart, he sent his security people, and he knew exactly where each of us were staying. Said, okay, you are supposed to meet the president at the officers' club at 3 p.m. Okay. Actually, at that time, we were disgusted. We didn't even want to see him because we knew what the game plan was. He was there to completely demoralize us. But we went. And then he came, of course, we assumed he would be coming with his entourage, with TV, etc. He came by himself wearing his sandals and his shabah. But on time, you know, and with a very angry face. Some of us knew him very well, and some of them were very friends. I remember one of our friends, you know, he was supposed to be here today, you know, Kasan was a good friend of him. You know? So when he saw it was so tense, you know, he tried to break the ice. He said, Mr. President, how was the trip to Khartoum? Because he went to Khartoum when we were there, you know, he didn't want to meet us, and then said, he didn't even respond, you know. So here we are, you know, Dr. Haile Debas read a very passionate, you know, very touching introduction while introducing each of us. You know? And Isaias was just looking somewhere else. He was not even in the room, you know, mentally. After Dr. Haile finished, he reached his pocket, I have to admit. I thought he was reaching to a gun in his pocket. You know? And then he took this piece of paper. It was, in fact, I was supposed to bring it here. I just forgot, you know. I still have that letter because somehow he gave it to me and I kept it. And he said, I'm not here to defend myself. In my country and my people know me. All that I want to tell you is you have offended your people by this baseless letter. And all that I advise you to do is do everything possible to apologize to your people. So at that time, I was honestly ready to go because that was the end of it. We were not expecting anything from him. Thanks to Khalid, he made the whole difference. Khalid rose up and said, Mr. President, you seem to be angry. What is there in the letter that we wrote that made you angry? If we had made a mistake, we are ready to apologize, but let's go to the letter. That opened the whole, which I thought was going to end in 5 minutes. It took us 1 hour and a half, and finally everybody spoke. And finally, he didn't want to go to the letter. If you read the letter, everything that we said, in fact, they have summarized it very well, you know, that was everything very constructive, real issues, you know. And we had been preparing for almost a month, you know, to defend every sentence that we wrote in that letter. He didn't want to go. So finally, when we really bombarded him with questions and asking, he said, okay. If you feel that what I read was something that you didn't like, don't worry. I'm not going to make it public. And what surprised me was he even added, said, I'm going even to delete it from my computer. You know? I said, wow, this guy writes his own his note letter. So that is something that I think is, if you are not for Khalid, I think that meeting would have lasted maybe not more than 10 minutes, you know. But because of Khalid, so I want to recognize him and have always had special honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. And I think sometimes I feel I wouldn't be here with my colleagues, and I see them as mentors as well. And I would vouch for each one of them. We didn't have a single gray hair at that time. It's all came in the last 20 years. So I can vouch for that. So I did get a letter from you just to say, to recount our experience. First, I don't have much to add to Brother Paulos and what Araya said, but I just want to go through, you guys sent us a list of questions to recount, but 5 or 6 questions. I'm not going to go through 4, 5, 6, 7, rather 5, 6, 7 that says, what do you recommend and what's the ways for Eritrean intellectuals and so on. After hearing what has been presented, I don't want to add anything. Actually, I will be spoiling it. What you guys did, the collection, the concern, the summaries you did, pretty much covers everything and beyond what I expected. So I don't have anything to say in the last 3 points. So all I do is encourage you and support you and just keep up the good work. So I'll go back to the first question, what it says, tell us briefly about yourself. So you may realize I pretty much kind of don't have any existence in the social media or writing or posting. But I had a lot of work that I've been doing that is not so public. So to give you a little bit about myself, I was born and raised in Asmara, went to Comboni, and my parents are from Hergigo. So we spent a lot of time in Massawa. And I left the first massacre and they left the second one, okay? After that, I went to Egypt, finished high school, came to the US, and studied physics for undergraduate and graduate, and then moved on to do computational physics. So I get my PhD to 2091. And then I'd gone to Eritrea to see, even before the airport was open. So went through Sudan. This was independence came May 24. I was in Sudan, I think the first week of June. Second week of June, I was Asmara, okay? So when you go there, there was a euphoria, the excitement, and the change, and then the airport opened and see people visiting and so on, right? And then I was convinced that I'll be staying there to teach at the university. Little I know, the euphoria for me died out very quickly, because with the independence, people were already jailed in Sahel. They were brought in to Asmara in shackles. That I don't like. Later on, people were arrested. So I went back in 92 after I finished my dissertation to go there permanently, at least to give it a try. What I saw was just something didn't look real. By 94, 95, you see human rights abuse, the Batalla that Paulos mentioned, the arrest of the teachers in Tehran in Mahad 1994 and 95. It just didn't look right. This is the independence we were waiting. I have seen the telltale signs early because it just happened to be there early. And unfortunately, some of the G13 people members knew about this. Some of the G15 knew about it, and I talked to them. And of course, there was this explanation that this issue didn't start today. It was in 89, 88. There was a lot of abuses, a lot of arrests has been done. And the people say, let's get rid of the enemy first. Then came independence, 91. The liberation, 91, they say, let's have our independence, secure our legal rights as a sovereign state. Excuse me. Then came, okay, we need to have a constitution to govern as a document that will, set the rights and the responsibility of citizens and so on. But I know for a fact from firsthand people, Isaias was not interested in the constitution. He was not going to implement it. Okay. Of course, by then I had already returned to the US. So I'm trying to answer the question, what got me interested in this, how getting involved. Then I came to the US and I was writing in the High. I was the lone voice criticizing Isaias. Of course, I was enemy number one at that time. Then contacted by Paulos, I think it was in 99. There were other initiatives, by the way, that kind of fizzled and we were trying to organize, right? So let me go back one more. So I'm trying, instead of mumbling, let me just stick with the 6 points he asked here. How did you become? I went through that. What would you continue working for social change and say, what is that left? That was the document. I had, I was the contrarian. I had dissenting view in the document itself. As a matter of fact, while we were there, I walked out from meeting because it fell short to my expectation. But then, of course, through compromise, I have joined the group and we issued the letter. Main concern was the Constitution was drafted by hand-picked people. Isaias had great influence on them. And then one article that really bothered me, when we knew Isaias was not going to implement it, word got out to the commissioner, they should place a date, an effective date on the first National Assembly. And that is the only article that Isaias refused and fought very, very vigorously to take it out. So if you look at the document, it doesn't have an effect date. Look at any document in the wallet, any constitution in the wallet has an effective date. He made sure that it requires his signature. And unfortunately, influential people in the commission, the Constituent Commission, sort of played into his hand. They should have set an effective date, which was the first assembly that the Israeli National Assembly met. So that was my issue. Of course, there were the issue of the land, returning of refugees, the governance issue, the rights of freedom, and so on. But we said, okay, this is a compromise, and it's a beginning, and we proceeded. And when we went to meet the CS, like they say, we were surprised. He asked us to apologize, and I was really, having lived in the US for too long, I was kind of not going to take it from him. And while my colleagues were getting up and they talk, I start trying to cajole him, trying to talk back to him, trying to convince him. And I think probably I was a fool at that time. I mean, like you say, if you don't know who's the idiot in the room, you might likely it's you, the idiot, right? So, but then I was not brave and stupid because I left right away at 6 o'clock after the meeting. So to him, he likes to put down people. And one of my colleagues was really shaken at the meeting, and I had asked him what's happened. And he said, "Manfasu kabidio." Literally, that's what he said. And he has this intimidating factor. He had this personality, uncomfortable that you wouldn't be comfortable to sit next to him and have coffee. It's just that's him. Maybe the atrocities he committed comes back to people's mind, and they get intimidated, and they will not push back. And I have seen it when I was Asmara. I mean, there's a grown-up man who came from Sahel. They don't stand up to him. They don't talk up to him. I had met him previously a few times, but that was in a social gathering. So I thought people made me look impolite. They thought I was disrespectful, and talked back to him. And if that was disrespectful to me, it's a badge of honor to disrespect this ass. So I take it. So to come to my conclusion, let me just give you an idea. After I come to the physics program, then I went back to school and I got another second master's in financial math and completely moved from physics to financial market. And that's what I work now in the financial capital market, where I manage now a derivative portfolio as a partner and also consult for social equity firms in terms of their finance. And of course, there are other hobbies that I work on. So, but recently, you understand what's going on in the geopolitics of the region. I'm just going to tell a story. I'm going to keep it too long because this will give a justification what I thought is very necessary for us to do right now. I was in Cairo in a wedding, 2011, and happened to be seated in the same chair of Abdullah Jabir. And remember, this is like 2 months before the Wadali Porto operation. And the host was kind of quietly had me move to the table. I didn't bother to talk to him because I knew before he was kind of not very nice. And I say, what would have happened had I talked to him? Because there was another minister who was just easygoing and talking, but he was afraid to approach me, I approaching him. So I said, what would have happened or could have happened had we had a contact? Of course, he's not going to tell me much of what he was planning to do with his colleagues. And later on, I knew that other colleagues who were very close to didn't even tell me what happened in Porto until they would get arrested. That's how I knew they were involved. So that kind of left me with an impression. It is absolutely important that we have to have some kind of synergy with the people inside. It is crucial. The second part was just imagine the students from Akria School had they had the political support, the media support, the informational support, and also cooperated with other groups, would they have succeeded? At least make a noise. So we've been, a group of us right now, we're trying to formulate the correct process of this transition process. Of course, not to take from what you guys have been presenting, but rather to understand the process, the transition, and how to build a process that is inclusive, that calls for the collaboration of all political social groups, and how to make it succeed. And this is what we are. I personally, with very few people you might heard of, are engaged in pursuing. So this takes nothing of what you guys propose, what you guys doing. I see it, this doesn't compete with the work you guys doing. What we understand is a parallel process has to go in terms of building this umbrella organization, whether you call ENCDC, whether you want to call it government in exile, or whatever it is, we need an umbrella organization. In historical terms, nothing happens for many, many years. And then all of a sudden, we hear of cluster of events happening and people scrambling and vying for position and so forth. And you probably read the situation now. This is about to happen. Very radical rearrangement, realignment, political forces in the region. And we need to have a seat in the table. And this is absolutely important. Otherwise, we'll be left out if we don't have a say in this process. So, sorry, I have exceeded my allotted time. And thank you for the award. First reaction was, there are other more deserving people, especially the G15 who passed away, others who stood up to the regime. I thought, maybe we don't deserve it. And so I was not very keen of coming, but my colleagues convinced me this is a reunion. And then the introduction that was given here made sense to me. It's a setting example for the next generation to be courageous and to speak up and organize and carry the struggle forward. And thank you very much for the award. Thanks for listening.
Let me make one point about the leaking of the letter and reaction. As I said, I was in Asmara. People actually came to me to say, Kamoratna Zinansabe. In all the months, there was only one article in Hadas Eritrea condemning us. Only one article. And that was written by a person who never read the letter. I want to talk to him. Diaspora, they were condemning us, but not a single person mentioned the content. You're traitors, you are disrespectful to the president like that. So let us be mindful of our people inside. The way they think and react and they interact is completely different from where we are here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are very grateful for what you have done. That's a great example. Now, what I will do is, because of time, I will ask Dr. Angosom and Dr. Abio and then Dr. Thomas to present awards to our honorees. I wish if I can read their bios, but I need a day, or it could be 2 days, you know? And so taking our time into consideration, as basically what I will do is, I'm just gonna read their names. So I apologize for that. Dr. Professor Arada Basai. Oh, sure. Old man, how are you? Huh? Yeah. Okay. Can we stand and just let's thank our honorees? Let's give them hands. Okay, so number one, Professor Araya Basai. Number 2, Dr. Khalid Bashir. Number 3, Mr. Paulos Tasfagergis. Number 4, Professor Barakat Habtasilase. Actually, he is with us virtually. Number 5, Dr. Haile Dabas. Number 6, Dr. Muhammad Omar. Number 7, Dr. Asafa Takaste. Number 8, Dawit Masfin. Then Mr. Kasahun Choko. And then Miriam Muhammad Omar. The last one is, rest in peace, his soul, Dr. Rusum Haile. Now we have 2 messages. One is from Dr. Haile Dabas, and then we have a recorded video from Dr. Muhammad. I will ask Dr. Samas to read Dr. Haile Dabas' message, and then we'll go to the video after that. Thank you.
Okay, this is a message from Dr. Haile Dabas. The G13 was a response to the total disappointment and frustration we felt when we realized that Isaias had decided not to implement the new constitution, but instead make sure that no multi-party system would be tolerated. What he did was a total betrayal of the hope and aspirations of all Eritreans whose love and dedication to their country is legendary. The impact of G13 was mixed. On one hand, it brought into focus the development of dictatorship and forewarned about a grim future for a country which until then had become the beacon of hope for all Africa. On the other hand, it handed Isaias the perfect excuse to divide all Eritreans, particularly those in diaspora. Neither the G13 nor the various opposition parties that sprang up outside Eritrea have had much effect in changing the attitude of the Eritrean government. The future of the country we love so much is until uncertain. My hope is in the young Eritreans who should be planning for the future of the country after the current government is gone. We have learned in the past 20 years that opposition parties operating solely
from the outside the country are ineffective. Credible opposition from inside Eritrea is absolutely a necessity. A large segment of Eritrean youth have left the country in the long run. This may prove to be a major loss. These young Eritreans must maintain their attachment and passion for the homeland. ERIPS and similar organizations can do much to see that this happen. And to Eritrean intellectuals and professionals, I would say, don't give up. The time will soon come when you will be called upon to put your expertise into helping Eritrea and its people. Dr. Haile Abbas.
Now we're gonna go to the video.
Dear participants of the workshop, first of all, I would like to thank ERIPS leadership for organizing this Dear participants of the workshop, first of all, I would like to thank ERIPS leadership for organizing this timely gathering. I extend my appreciation also to all ERIPS members who are doing their best to tackle the challenges Eritrea faces today and how it prepares for a democratic transition in the future. I'm honored to be a member of the advisory board and wish you all success. Thank you for honoring the work of G13 of the year 2000. It has been a long journey since then. I remember when I resumed my teaching duties at the University of Asmara after we met Sias Fork in November 2000. In private, people would tell you what you did was courageous and great. But in public, it was different. At the University of Asmara, most of the staff members, except few, and I would mention one of them, Dr. Kiasimu, were scared even to be seen with me for understandable reasons. There was, and still is, a climate of fear. Several of them warned my friend Take that he would be in trouble if seen with me, but Take used to tell them, I have nothing to do with politics, but Muhammad is my friend, and I cannot abandon him. Not only that, but he took care of my family when I left. So this honor of mine, although we didn't do it for honors, goes to him. Outside the campus too, only a few dared to be seen with me. Those include members of the G15 and their supporters. Many of them unfortunately disappeared after September 18. We were intimidated, psychologically isolated, and there was a campaign, a smear campaign against the G11 of the G13 that stood their ground. We have come a long way forward since the atmosphere of 2000. We have an important way to go to reclaim our land back and set it for the first 21st century. I was born and grew up in Eritrea. My name is Mohammed Khair Omar, for those who don't know me, particularly in Agorat, and witnessed firsthand the early years of the Eritrean liberation. Struggle, difficulties, the resolve of the fighters, the atrocities committed by the Ethiopian army, and that shaped my early engagement in the Eritrean struggle for independence. I was fortunate enough to have studied at the universities of Addis and Khartoum, and got my PhD at the College of Veterinary Sciences in Oslo, which I think helped broaden my understanding of the region. I was also an executive member of the General Union of Eritrean Student Guests during my university days. I taught at the Eritrean Refugee School in Kasalan and later worked at the Sudan Commissioner for Refugees in the 1980s and taught at the University of Asmara after liberation until 2001. While on a work visit to Norway in August-September 2001, the crackdown on all those who aspired for change took place, and thus I couldn't go back home. In Norway, I took refuge, got protection, citizenship, and new opportunities. Until my retirement in 2018, I worked as a researcher at the Norwegian Research Center. So thank you, Norway, too. In 2020, I wrote a book about Eritrea entitled The Dynamics of Unfinished African Dream, Eritrea Ancient History to 1968. And since 2014, I have been running a digital archive on Eritrean history and political literature at headguide.com. And today it has 865 entries on articles and books. Regarding the G30 meeting, I was invited by Dr. Asafat Khasted. I think the work of the group was timely and addressed the main problems in Eritrea in 2000 and beyond, even the problems that we face today. It broke the silence of Eritrean intellectuals in a collective way. I don't think I'd like to meet Isaias again, but I only hope that I will see him standing trial in a courtroom. Eritrean intellectuals have played an important role in the liberation movement. They formed the ELM, the ELF, the EPLF, but unfortunately they were not critical of the shortcomings of the liberation movements. Intellectuals can play an important role in addressing the issues we face today in a scientific, well-studied manner and be vocal, transparent, non-partisan, and effective in addressing challenges we face and in the preparations for a democratic transition. I believe ERIPS can play in bringing the desired change in Eritrea together with other actors by harnessing critical mass of scholars engaged in the good of their country in various disciplines. Thank you very much.
ብጣዕሚ ግሩም ዝኾነ መደብ ነቶም ነዚ ፃዕሪ ዝገብሩ ኣፍልጦ ንምሃብ ዝገበርኩሞ ዶክተር ደሳለን ዶክተር ተኽሉን ይቐኒልና ሕጂ ቀጥታ ቅድሚ ናብ ናይ ምሳሕ ፕሮግራም ምኻድና ካብ ናይ ኣክል ምንቅስቃስ ናይ ደገፍ መልእኽቲ ኣሎ ስለዚ ሓውና ፍቕረ ከስምዕት ናይ ደገፍ መልእኽቲ ከቕርቦ እዩ ሓውና ፍቕረ
Good afternoon. It's really a great honor to be standing and sharing the same stage as our giants here. It brings mixed emotion to me. I was a student at the Smara University at that time in 2000, and your concerns have not been forgotten. The younger generation is following your footsteps, and thank you. So you've been concerned about the situation that had happened before 2000, and even after 2000, the things have not improved, have not changed. So I'm here today to say a few things about a solidarity message with Eritrea. Eritrea is an organization that have been working very closely. A lot of its members are members of YACL, and I'm here on behalf of YACL, the global YACL movement, to share a message here. So a lot of us here would probably know YACL because most of us are members of it. But for those who do not know, YACL has 11 countries under its umbrella right now. On July and early August, they had their first founding Congress. And it was very successful, and it gave a lot of hope to Eritreans. And this is Eritreans who have said YACL after 2000. The YACL have been said multiple times in our country by all the misery that our people have faced. But recently, since the peace deal between Abiy and Isaias, people all over the world have said YACL and start organizing again in city, country, and now global format. So it's a public political movement. There are three values really that it stands on. It's populism, engagement, and one enemy. So it's based on people. It's a people grassroots movement, and we recognize that not everybody is part of the YACL organization, and therefore for the ones that are outside of the YACL organization, even though it has a platform to include everybody, there is an engagement process. There is an engagement framework that's been drafted. There are a few drafts right now that are drafted, but there is an engagement process that we hope to bring everybody together so that we can create that national united force to not only to replace the government, not only to make that transition faster and in the most smooth way, but also to manage that transition and also build the institutions post. So the one enemy is very important here. Our people have been very confused lately. It's been like that for a couple of decades, but even more lately, there is a lot of confusion. So we want to make sure that we have one enemy, and that's the government in the country led by Isaias Afwerki. So the drafts are engagement frameworks and strategic drafts. So why am I? So how's it organized? The YACL organization on the US level and now on the global, there is parallel departments that we see here. There is a lot of departments. The representatives, the people's representatives from different cities are not necessarily the only people that should be fighting here. And that brings me to this group, the intellectuals, the esteemed intellectuals and scholars of the country. This is an asset to the country, and we would like this asset to be part of, not necessarily part of the YACL organization, but part of the departments that can actually happen, that can make the transition happen. We can move. That was just, the departments were just to show what are the departments that we are working on right now in bringing change to the country. In bringing change to the country, not only that we are thinking about how to topple the government right now, but also how to manage that transition and how to build the institutions. And that requires intellectuals, that requires scholars. Right now, we have a very strong relationship with Eritrea. We have a new project for lobbying and diplomacy that we are working on, partnering to work on right now. And we know that most Eritrea members are also part of the YACL organization all over the world. That's where we are right now. But what do we like to be? What we would like to be is Eritrea. There is a lot of expectations from Eritreans on the educated, and rightly so. These expectations, in some cases, have not been seen. It doesn't mean that intellectuals are not working, but a lot of Eritreans have not seen enough. They would like to see more. And therefore would like the Eritreans to be in charge of the YACL organization, meaning they need to be the leaders of this department, the leaders of this transition, the leaders of the change. And also not only the YACL organization, because we recognize that there is outside the YACL Eritreans as well, in creating that national force, that national united force to topple the government, manage the transition, and also build the institutions that we need. We need to have ownership, leadership, mentorship, bridge. When we say bridge, we mean bridge between generations. We mean bridge between the educated and not so educated. We mean bridge between the ones outside of the country and the inside of the country. We need to build that bridge. And it comes, and that bridge, building that bridge will also help us to build trust, to bring solutions, and also in the transition and future for long and medium term Eritrea, the policies need to be data-driven, research-based, and managed and led by the intellectuals. But they need to step up in every sector, in every department, in every part of the struggle that we are fighting for. And obviously, all this added, managed by the leaders, managed by the intellectuals, managed by the scholars, could bring peace, prosperity for the country. So I'm not going to read here, but all I'm trying to show here is there are 3 phases to the struggle according to the YACL movement. The YACL movement have put it, the transition, the struggle to remove the government system, the transition period, and also the democratic institution building part of the period. a lot of times we see workshops, seminars, mostly talk about the day after. How about the day before, the night before, and that day? What are we ready to do? Do we have a plan for the first 24 hours? Do we have a plan for the first week? Even better, have we managed it? Are we the ones that are in charge to even get to that to that 0 hour? If we are not leading that first part of this puzzle here, we cannot be, whatever documents we draft right now, whatever agreements we can make, if we're not the owners, of that first part of the struggle, it makes it very difficult to be the owners of the transition and also the democratic process. I'm running with time here because I promised to do it in less than 10 minutes. So what can Eritreans do here? Obviously, a lot of Eritreans have left the country, but mainly a lot of educated Eritreans left the country. And that has been really sad for the country. And it's really sad to see the giants, our giants here, to have raised 20 years concerns 20 years ago, and we're still talking about this. But we're not gonna bring change by sadness. We'll bring change by working together, by unifying our forces, our efforts, making sure that we read each other, making sure that we work together, making sure that we don't leave anybody behind, making sure that there is people in Eritrea. Somebody was talking about the army and how to demobilize it and all that stuff. There is a disconnect right now, and we need to build that bridge between what's inside the country, what the country is going through, and the departments here. It's not really departments, it's just mainly sectors. Eritreans, individuals in all cities, in all countries can play a major role. And this is the time to step up. This is the time to have our research organized, our empirical based policies drafted, not only for the day after, but for today, from today up to the time that the government gets replaced. So ideally, the future state would look like that. When I first showed earlier the first map, it showed a few countries, about 11 or 12 countries, Eritreans that live in those countries, over 150 cities organized under the IACL umbrella. And this does not necessarily mean, because there is some feelings about organizations. This is not about organizations, this is about Eritreans. This is Eritreans all over the world coming together to make sure that there is a dialogue among Eritreans, there is a truth and reconciliation process. There is engagement with the ones that have not been part of the process, part of the democratic struggle. And there needs to be a healing. There is a lot of scars. Eritreans have a lot of scars. The young generation have a lot of scars. And we need to recognize that, and we need to have that healing process. We need to have professionals in that field. I know there are 10 departments in Eritrea, and I'm sure they are doing marvelous jobs. But we need to also engage the young generation. I see here probably mostly people who have studied abroad, people who have studied in Asmara University. Is there anybody who have studied in Mainafhi and other colleges here? 2. We need to bring more of them because they are the future of the country. We need to engage more of them because they are the future of the country. If we don't engage them, there is no bridge that we can build. And therefore, during the institution building process, having a common vision, and during that institution building process, the policies that would reconstruct the country will be developed by the intellectuals and scholars, because there is a lot of hope from the Eritrean people. The Eritrean people, unfortunately, have not gotten the opportunity to send more of their kids to school. They have sent more of their kids to the military camps. The education have been systematically destroyed. We here are the privileged ones. And we need to use that privilege because each of us step on somebody's shoulder to get here. And that somebody needs our help right now. And we need to step up. We need to reconstruct our country post this transition. but I cannot emphasize enough the involvement that we need right now, today, the bridge that we need to build today, the trust that we need to build today, the inclusiveness that we need to bring today, so that all this can happen to get us to peace, justice, and prosperity. Thank you.
يغنيلنا حونا فقرة صبغ مغلصي ناي دغاف ملختي مغلص خانيرو حجي تامينا لنا بير شور حجي احاتنا ناي مغبي بروجرام دالين كوفيلن صبيانا لوا تعاطيغن كوفيلن هونن تعاطيغن صبيانا لوا سلازي اتوم اساسيتي بنغورونا مغدي قلطيفنا خنبل جن ناي غزي خستاي خالنا سلازي حجي 10 حدن 50 دي زلو بستخال متن حدا ساعات بروجرام يا زلانا مسح قلطفنا مسح بلعنا ابز مصينا خا بزح زتلنا مالتي يغنيلنا سلازي اساسيتي تقريبا مالو بزيا وصينا تملشنا خا بتمتونا خنغرونا سلازي يغريتا دكتور هابتاب سلازي اساسي تخنقرونا ام بين خمنتس let's see the tom up online the one who are online we're going to be back we're going to play some music and we'll be back around 2:30 yes okay well they're telling me that we will be back in 20 minutes.